Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Robert Allen, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Corporal Daniel Hodgson. We warmly welcome the family of Pilot Officer Ernest Thompson, whose story will be told shortly. We are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Troy Muller, Director, Nuclear Technology Division, Naval Reactors, United States of America, accompanied by Rear Admiral Kath Richards, Head Nuclear-Powered Submarine Regulatory Design, and the accompanying delegation. We warmly welcome Group Captain Ernie Walsh, President of the Air Force Association ACT Division, and the International Tourism Delegation visiting with Tourism Australia and Visit Canberra. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Those requiring a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Pilot Officer Ernest Thompson. Ernest Thompson was born in May 1920, the youngest of 5 children of Arthur and Ethel Thompson of Norman Park in Queensland. After attending school at Norman Park and Anglican Church Grammar School, Ernest worked as a bank clerk at the Commonwealth Bank in Brisbane. He also paraded part-time with the Royal Australian Artillery as part of the compulsory military service scheme in place in Australia since the outbreak of the Second World War. Ernest enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force Reserve in December 1941, and 6 months later, after his 21st birthday, joined the full-time Citizens Air Force. As an airman, Ernest trained as a navigator and bomb aimer under the auspices of the Empire Air Training Scheme. After completing initial training at Sandgate in Queensland, Ernest went on to Air Observer School at Cootamundra in New South Wales, Bombing and Gunnery School at Evans Head, and Air Navigation School at Parkes, before sailing for the United Kingdom in May 1943 to join RAF Bomber Command. Ernest was posted to No. 20 Operational Training Unit at RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland, where he joined a night bomber aircrew and was trained on the twin-engine medium bomber, the Vickers Wellington, before being posted with his crew to No. 102 Cylon Squadron at RAF Pocklington in Yorkshire in May 1944. Flying the 4-engine Handley Page Halifax heavy bomber, Ernest carried out his first operational sorties over Nazi-occupied Europe, attacking German rail infrastructure, staging areas, and the V1 and V2 rocket assembly and launch sites as Allied forces prepared for the D-Day landings in Normandy. In the weeks after D-Day, Ernest transferred to No. 466 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force, based at RAF Driftfield in Yorkshire, and continued to undertake operational flights over Nazi-occupied Europe. By then, Bomber Command had returned to the area bombing of German cities, including Berlin, Hamburg, and Dresden. At this point, Ernest was engaged to Joyce Murdoch. On the night of the 15th of October, 1944, Ernest and the crew of Halifax bomber Mike Zulu 299, radio call sign, H for Harry, failed to return from a raid on Wilhelmshaven on Germany's North Sea coast. The raid, involving more than 500 aircraft from across RAF Bomber Command, was considered a success. Of the 11 aircraft from Ernest's squadron that participated, H for Harry was the only one that failed to return. Ernest and his crew were listed as missing in action, their families hopeful that some of the crew may have bailed out of their stricken aircraft and been taken prisoner. Several months later, the Red Cross was able to confirm that only one member of H for Harry had been taken prisoner of war, Sergeant Kemp, the British mid-upper gunner. The others had been killed in the crash. After the war, the RAF and Dominion Missing Research and Inquiry Service found the bodies of the missing crew and those of a Canadian Halifax, both of which had been brought down near the German town of Jagdstede. While both aircraft may have fallen prey to German night fighters, it appears they collided on the bomb run towards Wilhelmshaven. Aged 24 when he died, Ernest Thompson is today buried at Saga War Cemetery at Niedersachsen, Germany, with the other crew members of H for Harry and the Canadian Halifax that came down with them. A small epitaph written by his grieving parents appears on Ernest's headstone. I have fought the good fight. I have kept the faith. Joyce Murdoch, Ernest's fiancée, never married. Ernest's name is listed on the honour roll on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer Ernest Thompson, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they'll be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.